Throughout the book, you also outline some practical tips about how the reader can reclaim their lives. One of them is to invest in active forms of leisure, where you say, if you want to diversify your identity, don't default to watching TV or playing on your phone, but instead invest in relationships, hobbies, and activities. Another one was this concept of find opportunities to trade money for time. And it's an interesting one for me because I've had a couple renowned scientists on the show, most notably Cassie Holmes, who put out a book last year called Happier Hour. And in it, she talks about the sweet spot for time that actually leads to more happiness. And I was hoping you could talk just a little bit about what your research discovered about happiness and its link to free time.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Cassie and her research. I think one of the most illuminating findings from her book is there's actually an optimal amount of free time to have over the course of a day. We often think free time, just more of it is better. But in Cassie's research, she found that if we have too much free time, it actually leads to feelings of ennui or listlessness. And I think that's really important to keep in mind. You can sit on the beach for a day or two, or maybe a week or two, but ultimately there needs to be some activity in your life if you want to derive sources of meaning. The research around free time, in addition to Cassie's work, there's a lot that's come out of Harvard that has found that if parents in particular can take micro interventions or investments in, say, hiring a babysitter for an hour a week to be able to go on a walk with your partner, or finding different little ways in which you can outsource time intensive activities in order to have a little bit more free time in your life. It's a great predictor of happiness. In the US in particular, there's this idea that we should always be trading time for money. Historically, the wealthier an individual or a country has gotten, the less time they work because, well, they can afford not to, put simply. But the US is an outlier in many ways, especially compared to a lot of our peer developed world nations. Some of the largest increases in work time in the past 40, 50 years have come from the highest earners in the US because instead of trading more money for more free time, as is customary, a lot of Americans have traded their free time for more work. It's one of the great ironies of success is that often when you've done good work, it just creates more work for yourself. I would advise people to just think about that natural tendency to fill all of their unoccupied space with work. Work can kind of, especially knowledge work, can seep like a gas and fill all the corners of your life. And thinking about how you can create kind of protection and boundary around that free time. And so work isn't having an outsized impact in your weeks and your days.